Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'm Inange Kabele. Welcome to my channel, Questioning Thoughts. Um, I'm going to get straight into it, but I've been thinking a lot about what defines a civilization, right? We've all had history class, geography class. We've been given definitions. We think we know, don't we? Like the United States is considered to be a civilization. There was, the Roman Empire, the British Empire. So they're empires, civilizations, young and old, up and coming ones, right? So there's civilization and then what it means to be civilized. So I have a short list. So we consider people to be civilized when they're highly educated, they have a lot of technology, they have sophisticated philosophy, they uphold human rights, and they have protections for people. And they treat their very youngest and their very oldest with dignity and care and love, you know. So that's what we consider to be civilized when people are civilized or have a civilization. Now, this is kind of tricky for me because under this thing that we're going through worldwide that has a central control, that has, of course, an agenda for the world to be shaped in a very particular way. Um, if you look at the media, the news media especially, and of course, entertainment and news media kind of influence each other. There are new definitions of who's civilized and who isn't, and new alignments. But like I've looked at it very closely, and I'm like, oh, there's an interesting pattern. When we look at history, so that's my dog with her bone. When we look at history, whenever there is a group of people that is, vilified and maligned, there always is some issue of land involved, right? I'll just leave it at that for now. But so the media is redefining who in the world is civilized and is not, and is um, vilifying and dehumanizing people who don't believe what the media wants us to believe to be 100% factual, true, real, and good, right? Now, the way I look at it, the world is kind of split in two. So there are these natural oppositions that also work together, right? So you've got male, female, up, down, left, right, hot, cold, wet, dry. Everything is opposites. We live in a dualistic world, and without that dualism, we wouldn't have anything material at all. So there are people in this world who don't just go along, and then there are people in the world who go along to get along. There are people who are motivated by safety and looking good and believe that it's permissible to take away other people's rights and their liberties in the name of safety. And then there are people who believe that the moment we relinquish our rights for safety, then that's it for our freedom. I mean, the only way that we'll get it back is through bloodshed, and they don't want that, right? So it's better to preserve the liberties that we have now so that we don't have to resort to bloodshed. So, back to this definition of civilization. We human beings are fascinated by material things, and the shinier the better. We like slick, shiny things. We like things that are symmetrical and polished. That's why, I mean, I love my iPhone. I confess, I will not lie. I love to drive fast in a car. I love to drive fast. Nobody report me, please. And I don't go that fast either. But if I could go much faster, I would go much faster. I love to drive fast and play loud music and turn up the subwoofer and the bass. And that experience is not possible getting together in a room with people with acoustic instruments. It's just like there's no comparison, right? So we, depending on where our values lie, we're either captivated by the bright, shiny objects or we're not. I am selectively captivated by bright, shiny objects personally, right? But, if we define civilization as a bunch of people who have a lot of bright, shiny objects that they keep iterating on, or who now have this technology that has the ability to edit genes or splice genes with other species, and that's the definition of progression and civilization, then that's what those people believe. Um, I mean, going back, if we were to define being highly civilized as like what is one of the definitions of a technologically advanced, really highly civilized civilization? That's the Third Reich of Nazi Germany. So they developed this technology that was amazing, right? And we still use some of that technology to this day that was developed in that day. But at what cost, right? So in order to advance, they did a tremendous amount of experimentation on human beings. I did a couple of videos that were actually deleted about that, about how every time humanity or a group, a section of humanity advances technologically, there's always a tremendous human sacrifice involved, right? And we're going through a tremendous human sacrifice right now, and to advance this new technology that is going to be the main technology. So what we've been going through, expect it to continue through 2025. Please, I know that many people are very excited that they finally got the technology in their bodies, and they really believe that now things will go back to normal, but that's not the plan. They'll never go back to normal, or they'll have some semblance of normality around 2025. But until then, there are going to be more and more variants, and there are going to be more and more deaths, and it will be less and less innate immunity left in human beings. But yeah, so this thing about being civilized, so people who have the tech, I mean, whether the tech was injected into their body, or they have the car, or they have the university degree, it's an external thing that they have. There was some sacrifice that they made to get this external thing that is a stamp of approval that now means, like, now you're one of the elite, you're one of the better people. So that stamp of approval, that thing, that passport that allows people to go, into the elite circles, like I said, is there's some sacrifice to get that, whether it's, devoting, 4, 6, or 8 years for, advanced degrees, tremendous sacrifice there, or taking an experimental technology into their body, that's a tremendous sacrifice, because it's experimental, and the results, the negative results, are being suppressed. So many, and anybody who says, hey, this happened to me, is considered to be uncivilized conspiracy theorist. And what was the other thing? Oh, so yeah, the really nice car, there's a sacrifice to be made to, like, make the income to purchase the car or whatever. But it seems that every time we talk about civilization, there's this technology connection, and then there's always some sort of tremendous human sacrifice involved. And then when there's a massive leap in technology, then there's massive human sacrifice. And then also what we're going through right now in this day and age is so many definitions around this thing and this sickness, and then the concepts there, everything is being redefined. Like our language is being changed, because when you change language, you change perception. Um, but I guess that's the human condition, is like, got two groups of people. One has more sophisticated technology. They develop a God complex towards the other group of people. They feel like that they need to control them. They feel like they need to improve them. Um, and there's a lot of egoism involved, and it's because the sense of self is externalized. It's like the sense of a person's sense of worthiness of themselves and other people, it's an external thing. And I don't see any way to, and that generates war. Like, um, I know that there's some people on one side who believe so strongly in this technology to save humanity, advance humanity, progress humanity, make us more moral people or whatever. They believe in it so strongly that it's to the point where they really are beginning to talk. I mean, this is a small percentage, but they're beginning to speak out loud about how people who don't believe and won't do what they do ought to be killed. And we've been here before. We've been here before. So, all I can think of, I mean, the only solution is to be, heart centered and be willing to question everything and question authorities. I mean, all of a sudden, talk about things being redefined. Up until a year and a half ago, if somebody had like a cancer diagnosis, they could get a second or third or fourth or fifth opinion. And many people who stopped at the first diagnosis and didn't get a second opinion aren't even alive today. So there's this notion now that there's this one doctor who knows everything, and he's the only one and only doctor to listen to. And if he flip-flops, a dozen times in a week, that's fine, because he's the one and only doctor. And any doctor with a different opinion or experience, or who's tried other things that work well, that are not as expensive and not as invasive, is, that doctor ought to have his license taken away immediately. Like, this thinking is very new, but I think that many people, maybe because this is the first time in their lives that they've had to really think seriously about health or public health, don't know, like this is not a concept for them. And then there are people who just, really, like, government is God, like government is God. Human beings, fallible, moody, grumpy human beings who have their own personal agendas, and their own prejudices and their own ideologies, have the right, just because they hold a certain position in office, have the right to tell us how to live. I mean, but like I said, this is not the first go round. And even this medical stuff that's happening, it happened before in the past. You can research it. And I know many people don't have the time to research. And then there is the fallout. There's a tremendous fallout that many people are not willing to take the risk of the fallout of thinking independently, because in this political climate, if you dare think independently, you lose everything. And I mean everything. You might as well commit suicide. I mean, that's how intense it is right now. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you for hanging in. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment if you feel so inclined. Thanks.